The morning started like any other Tuesday on Earth. People went to work, children played in parks, and life moved at its normal pace. Nobody expected that this would be the day everything changed forever. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the space station called New Horizon. He was drinking his coffee and reading reports when the alarm started screaming. His coffee cup fell to the floor as he rushed to the main screen. "What's happening?" he asked his crew. Lieutenant Sam Rogers pointed at the display with shaking hands. "Sir, we have contacts coming out of hyperspace. Lots of them." The screen showed something that made Jake's blood run cold. Thousands of alien ships were appearing around Earth. They were huge, dark red vessels that looked like they were built for war. The largest ones were bigger than entire cities. Captain Lisa Morgan ran into the command center. She was Earth's best expert on alien life. Her face was pale as she looked at the ships. "Those are Zephyrian vessels," she said quietly. "I've been studying their transmissions for years." "Tell me about them," Jake ordered. Lisa pulled up files on her computer. "They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They've conquered 47 different worlds. Every species they meet either becomes their slaves or gets killed. They've been expanding across the galaxy for over 200 years. Commander Alex Turner was at the communications station. He had been trying to contact the alien fleet since they arrived. "Admiral, we're getting a transmission from them." "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The screen flickered and showed a creature that looked like a nightmare. It had 4 arms, gray skin, and eyes like black holes. Its teeth were sharp, and its voice was deep and scary when it spoke. "I am Admiral Korath of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet," the alien said. "Your primitive species has been chosen for processing. You will surrender all your technology and prepare your population for work assignments. Those who resist will be eliminated." The alien's image disappeared, leaving the bridge in silence. Everyone stared at the screen, trying to process what they had just heard. Jake activated the emergency communication system to contact Earth. "Get me President Kate Johnson immediately." Within minutes, the president was on the screen from her emergency bunker in Washington. Her cabinet members stood behind her, all looking worried and scared. "Admiral Sullivan," the president said, "what's our situation?" "Ma'am, we're facing an invasion force of approximately 8,000 alien vessels. They've surrounded Earth completely. Our preliminary scans show their technology is far more advanced than ours." General Ben Harris stepped forward on the president's screen. He was the head of Earth's military forces. "What about our defenses? Can we fight them?" Jake looked at his tactical officer, who shook his head sadly. "General, our weapons can't even scratch their shields. Their smallest ships could destroy our largest battleships without taking any damage." Dr. Susan Walsh appeared on the screen next to the president. She was a scientist who worked on secret government projects. Her expression was strange. She looked worried, but also like she knew something the others didn't. "How long do we have?" the president asked. Alex Turner checked his communications panel. "They're giving us 1 hour to surrender completely. If we don't, they'll start destroying our cities as examples." The alien ships moved into attack positions around Earth. Their weapons were already charging, creating an eerie red glow that could be seen from the planet's surface. People in major cities looked up at the sky and saw the lights of death hanging over their heads. Dr. Walsh spoke quietly to Dr. Peter Grant, who was standing beside her. They exchanged looks that suggested they shared a secret. Grant nodded slightly and whispered something back to her. "Mr. President," Dr. Walsh said suddenly, "I need to speak with Admiral Sullivan privately. There's something he needs to know." President Johnson looked confused but nodded. "Admiral, Dr. Walsh has clearance for our most classified projects. Listen to what she has to say." The connection changed to a secure channel with just Jake and Dr. Walsh. The scientist's expression became very serious. "Jake, there's something we've kept secret for 60 years, something that might save us all. But I need you to come to the Nevada research facility immediately. I can't leave my post during an invasion." Jake protested. "You have to trust me. What we have there could change everything. Get in your fastest ship and come to these coordinates." She sent him a location that wasn't on any official maps. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was preparing for a battle they couldn't win. Earth's entire military was moving into position, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The alien ships were too powerful and too many. "Sam, you have the bridge," Jake told his lieutenant. "If I'm not back in 30 minutes, follow whatever orders come from Earth Command." Jake ran to the shuttle bay and took the fastest ship available. As he flew toward Earth, he could see the alien fleet surrounding his home planet like hungry sharks. Their ships blocked out parts of the sky, casting shadows over entire continents. The coordinates Dr. Walsh had given him led to a desert in Nevada that looked completely empty. But as he got closer, hidden doors opened in what looked like solid ground. His ship was guided into an underground hangar that was much larger than seemed possible. Dr. Walsh and Dr. Grant were waiting for him when he landed. They both looked excited and scared at the same time. "Jake, what you're about to see will change everything you think you know about humanity," Dr. Walsh said as they walked through corridors that stretched deep underground. "What could be more important than the invasion happening above us?" Jake asked. Dr. Grant smiled mysteriously. "The fact that this invasion might be exactly what we've been waiting for." They reached a massive door marked with symbols that didn't look like any human writing Jake had ever seen. As the door opened, a strange blue light filled the corridor. "Welcome to humanity's real heritage," Dr. Walsh said as they stepped into the chamber beyond. Jake's eyes widened as he saw what waited inside. The room was enormous, filled with technology that looked both ancient and impossibly advanced. In the center stood a crystal structure as tall as a building pulsing with inner light. "What is this place?" Jake whispered. "The answer to why humans are really here," Dr. Grant replied, "and why today might be the most important day in galactic history." Above them, the alien fleet continued its countdown. 23 minutes remained until they would begin destroying Earth's cities. But in the hidden chamber far below, humanity's true destiny was about to be revealed. Jake followed Dr. Walsh and Dr. Grant deeper into the underground facility. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. The air hummed with energy that made his skin tingle. "How long has this place existed?" Jake asked as they walked. "The facility itself was built 60 years ago," Dr. Walsh explained. "But what we found here is much, much older." They entered a control room where dozens of scientists and technicians worked at computers. Lieutenant Colonel Danny Pierce looked up from his station and saluted Jake. "Admiral, good to see you." Dr. Walsh briefed you on the situation. "Not yet," Jake replied, looking around the room in amazement. "What exactly is going on here?" Dr. Grant gestured toward a large window that looked into the main chamber. The crystal structure Jake had seen earlier dominated the space, but now he could see it more clearly. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, pulsing with rhythms that almost matched a human heartbeat. 60 years ago, a deep-sea exploration team found something impossible on the ocean floor, Dr. Walsh began. "It was buried under 2 miles of sediment, but our tests showed it was over 40,000 years old." "What is it?" Jake asked. Captain Steve Bailey, the facility's chief engineer, joined their conversation. "We call it a quantum resonance amplifier. But honestly, we're not sure if that name even comes close to describing what it really does." Steve led them to another computer terminal. The screen showed complex diagrams and equations that hurt Jake's head to look at. "The device responds only to human brain patterns. We've tested it with samples from every Earth species, nothing. But when any human gets near it, it starts to wake up." Dr. Amy Roberts approached from another workstation. She was the team's lead physicist, and her expression was both excited and worried. "Admiral, we've spent 60 years studying this thing. What we've learned suggests that everything we thought we knew about human history is wrong." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Dr. Roberts pulled up a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Dozens of points were marked in blue light scattered across thousands of star systems. "This crystal isn't alone," she explained. "Our deep space sensors have detected identical energy signatures at these locations throughout the galaxy. They're all connected in some kind of network." Dr. Walsh took over the explanation. "The objects only respond to humans, not to any other species we know of. That suggests they were built specifically for us." "But humans evolved on Earth," Jake protested. "We have fossil evidence going back millions of years." Dr. Grant shook his head. "That's what we thought too. But the more we study this device, the more we realize that human evolution might not be as natural as we believed." Lieutenant Colonel Pierce brought up another display. This one showed DNA sequences and genetic markers. "Admiral, human DNA contains sequences that don't match any other Earth species. We always assumed they were just mutations, but now we think they might be something else entirely." "Like what?" Jake asked, though part of him was starting to guess the answer. "Like genetic keys," Dr. Roberts said quietly. "Designed to unlock this technology when the time was right." Captain Bailey demonstrated the device's basic functions. When he placed his hand on a smaller crystal panel, the entire chamber lit up. Holographic displays appeared in the air showing star charts and technical diagrams that were clearly far beyond human science. "It's like the device is trying to teach us," Steve explained. "But it only shares information when it detects a serious threat to Earth." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "A threat like the invasion happening above us right now?" "Exactly," Dr. Walsh confirmed. "The device has been mostly dormant for 60 years. But in the last hour, since the alien fleet arrived, it's become more active than we've ever seen it." Dr. Grant led them to the main observation deck where they could see the crystal structure up close. It was even more impressive from here, reaching from floor to ceiling like a technological tree. "We think our ancestors weren't originally from Earth," he said. "We think they were refugees from some ancient war. They hid us here, suppressed our memories, and left this network as a safeguard." "A safeguard against what?" Jake asked. Dr. Roberts checked her instruments. "Against exactly what's happening now. Galactic empires that conquer and enslave other species." Above them, they could hear the faint rumble of Earth's military forces moving into defensive positions. Jake knew those brave men and women were preparing to fight an impossible battle with weapons that couldn't even damage the enemy ships. "How does this help us?" he asked. "Even if everything you're saying is true, we still have 8,000 enemy ships surrounding Earth." Dr. Walsh and Dr. Grant exchanged another one of their meaningful looks. "Jake, we've never tested the device at full power. We've been too afraid of what might happen. The simulations suggest it can do more than just create shields or weapons," Dr. Roberts added. "The energy patterns indicate it might be able to manipulate space and time itself." Lieutenant Colonel Pierce pulled up readings from sensors placed around the galaxy. "Admiral, in the past hour, we've detected similar activation signatures from the other crystal sites. The entire network is waking up." Jake stared at the massive crystal. Its pulsing had grown stronger and more regular since he'd arrived. Almost like it was responding to his presence specifically. "What would happen if we activated it fully?" he asked. Captain Bailey brought up more technical displays. "We're not entirely sure. The power requirements would be enormous. It would need to draw energy from every human on Earth simultaneously." "From every human," Jake repeated. "The device is designed to work with human neural patterns," Dr. Roberts explained. "Not just one or two people, but our entire species working together unconsciously." Dr. Walsh looked at her watch. "We have 12 minutes before the aliens start destroying cities. Jake, you're the ranking military officer here. The decision has to be yours." Jake looked around at the scientists and technicians. These people had spent their careers studying something that could either save humanity or destroy it. Now they were asking him to make a choice that would affect every person on Earth. "What's the worst-case scenario?" he asked. Dr. Grant answered honestly. "The energy release could tear Earth apart, or it might attract the attention of something even worse than the Zephyrians." "And the best case?" Dr. Walsh smiled grimly. "Humanity takes its place as the guardians of the galaxy, just like our ancestors intended." Jake thought about the people above them. Families huddled in their homes, watching the sky fill with alien warships, children who might not live to see another day, soldiers preparing to die in a hopeless battle. He walked to the crystal and placed his hand on its surface. The moment his skin touched the smooth material, his mind filled with images. He saw ancient battles among the stars, great civilizations rising and falling, and a network of guardians keeping peace across the galaxy. "Do it," he said quietly. "Activate the device," Dr. Walsh nodded to her team. "Begin the activation sequence, and may whatever gods are watching have mercy on us all." The crystal began to glow brighter as the activation process started. Above them, the alien fleet continued its countdown, unaware that humanity was about to remember who they really were. The moment Jake authorized the activation, something incredible happened across Earth. In New York City, construction worker Tony Lopez was hammering nails into a roof when he suddenly stopped, his mind filled with knowledge of building materials that could withstand planetary bombardment. In a classroom in Chicago, teacher Linda Davis was writing math problems on the blackboard when numbers and equations she had never learned before appeared in her thoughts. They were formulas for calculating hyperspace, trajectories, and energy field harmonics. Farmer Joe Carter was feeding his cattle in Iowa when he looked up at the sky and somehow knew exactly how the alien ships above were positioned. He understood their tactical formation better than any military strategist on Earth. All across the planet, 8 billion human beings felt their minds expand. Hidden knowledge that had been locked away in their DNA for thousands of generations suddenly came flooding back. In the underground facility, Dr. Walsh watched her instruments in amazement. "It's working," she said breathlessly. "The crystal is connecting to every human nervous system on the planet." The massive crystal structure pulsed with brilliant light. Each pulse sent waves of energy through the Earth's core and up into space. Jake could feel the power flowing through him, awakening parts of his mind that had been sleeping his entire life. "Jake," Dr. Grant said excitedly, "look at these readings. The device isn't just connecting to humans on Earth. It's reaching out to the entire galactic network." On the holographic displays, they could see energy signatures activating across dozens of star systems. Ancient installations that had been dormant for millennia were coming online, all responding to humanity's awakening. Lieutenant Colonel Pierce monitored communications from around the world. "Admiral, we're getting reports from every major city. People everywhere are experiencing the same thing. They're gaining knowledge they never learned." Captain Bailey was staring at his engineering displays in wonder. "Sir, every piece of human technology on the planet is upgrading itself. Our computers, our satellites, even our simple machines are becoming more advanced. Above them in Earth's orbital stations, the transformation was even more dramatic." Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of New Horizon and watched as the station systems rewrote themselves. Control panels reconfigured, new displays appeared, and weapons she had never seen before came online. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself, but somehow she knew exactly how to operate the new systems. The knowledge was just there in her mind, as natural as breathing. Commander Alex Turner found himself understanding alien languages without any training. The Zephyrian communications that had been mysterious before now made perfect sense. He could read their tactical plans and predict their strategies. Dr. Roberts watched the quantum field readings spike beyond anything they had ever recorded. "The crystal isn't just activating," she announced. "It's teaching. It's downloading 40,000 years of suppressed human knowledge directly into our minds." Jake felt the knowledge flowing through him like water through a dam that had suddenly burst. He understood now that humans weren't native to Earth. They were the survivors of an ancient civilization that had once protected the galaxy from exactly this kind of threat. "We were guardians," he said aloud, the words coming from genetic memory rather than conscious thought. "Our ancestors built this network to keep peace among the stars. When they were defeated, they hid us here and suppressed our memories until we were needed again." The crystal's light grew brighter, and Jake could feel it connecting not just to humans on Earth but to something much larger. The network spanned half the galaxy, with installations on thousands of worlds. Dr. Walsh checked the global monitoring systems. "Jake, the activation is accelerating. Every human on Earth is now connected to the network. We're becoming something more than we were." In space above Earth, strange things began happening to human spacecraft. The small cargo ships and research vessels that orbited the planet started glowing with the same blue energy as the crystal. Their hulls strengthened, their engines became more powerful, and weapon systems that had never existed before came online. General Ben Harris, commanding Earth's defense forces from his bunker, watched in amazement as his military satellites transformed themselves. "What's happening to our equipment?" he asked his technicians. "Sir, everything we built is upgrading itself," came the reply. "Our weapons are becoming more powerful, our shields stronger. It's like our technology is remembering how it was supposed to work." President Johnson received similar reports from around the world. Nuclear submarines were surfacing with energy weapons instead of missiles. Fighter jets were landing because their pilots suddenly understood how to build better aircraft. Even simple radios were becoming quantum communication devices. But the most dramatic changes were happening in space. Hidden throughout Earth's solar system, installations that looked like asteroids began revealing their true nature. They were defensive platforms, disguised and waiting for thousands of years. Jake watched the tactical displays as dozens of these hidden fortresses came online. They had been there all along, invisible to human sensors, but now they were awakening to defend their creators' descendants. "How many of these installations are there?" he asked. Dr. Roberts consulted the network displays. "Hundreds in the solar system alone. Thousands throughout the galaxy. Admiral, we're not looking at human technology. This is what humans built when they were at the height of their power. The crystal pulsed again, and Jake felt another wave of knowledge wash over him. He understood now why the Zephyrian Empire had been so successful. They specialized in conquering young civilizations that hadn't yet developed advanced defenses. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had attacked the descendants of the race that built the Guardian Network. Lieutenant Colonel Pierce received an urgent communication from the surface. Admiral, President Johnson wants to speak with you immediately. The president's image appeared on their screen. Her expression had changed completely from the frightened leader of an hour ago. Now she looked calm and confident, like someone who had just remembered they held all the cards in a poker game. Admiral Sullivan, she said, I think it's time we responded to the alien ultimatum. Jake nodded. The knowledge flowing through the network told him exactly what humanity's response should be. Yes, ma'am. I think the Zephyrians are about to learn why their empire never encountered the Guardian Network before. How long until we're ready? The president asked. Dr. Walsh checked her instruments. The crystal was now glowing so brightly that it hurt to look at directly. The network is fully active. Every human on Earth is connected. All the Guardian installations are online. Jake felt power flowing through him that he had never imagined possible. Around the world, 8 billion humans were experiencing the same awakening. They were remembering who they really were. Ma'am, Jake said to the president, we're ready now. Above them, Admiral Korath's fleet continued its countdown, unaware that they had just awakened the galaxy's sleeping guardians. In 3 minutes, they would discover that humans were far more than the primitive species they appeared to be. President Johnson stood in her command bunker, but she no longer felt like the leader of a doomed planet. The knowledge flowing through the Guardian Network had changed everything. She understood now that Earth wasn't just another world under attack. It was the heart of a defensive system that protected the entire galaxy. Open a channel to the alien fleet, she ordered her communications officer. Admiral Korath's ugly face appeared on the screen. His 4 eyes showed contempt and impatience. Behind him, other Zephyrian officers prepared their weapons for the destruction of Earth's major cities. Your time is up, primitive creature, Korath snarled. Prepare to watch your species burn. President Johnson smiled calmly. The expression seemed to confuse the alien admiral. Admiral Korath, you have made a serious mistake. You have attacked the homeworld of the galaxy's guardian race. I'm giving you 30 seconds to withdraw from this system. Korath's mandibles clicked together and what their databases said was Zephyrian laughter. 30 seconds to surrender, you mean? Your pathetic weapons cannot even scratch our hulls. I'm not talking about our weapons, the president replied. I'm talking about yours. Above Earth, something impossible began happening. Every Zephyrian ship in the fleet started experiencing system failures, but not the kind they understood. Their weapons weren't breaking down. They were simply refusing to fire. On the bridge of his flagship, Korath watched in growing alarm as his tactical officer tried repeatedly to activate their planet-cracking cannons. The weapons had power. The targeting systems worked perfectly, but every time they tried to fire, nothing happened. What's wrong with our weapons? Korath demanded. I don't know, sir, the tactical officer replied, his voice full of confusion. All systems show green, but the energy discharge just disappears the moment it leaves our ships. Captain Bailey, monitoring the situation from the underground facility, explained what was happening to Jake and the other scientists. The Guardian Network isn't just defensive. It can manipulate the fundamental forces of physics within its area of influence. You mean it's making their weapons not work? Jake asked. Dr. Roberts pointed to her displays. More than that. It's redirecting the energy from their weapons into powering our own systems. Every shot they try to fire makes the network stronger. In space around Earth, the Zephyrian fleet was discovering the futility of fighting technology they couldn't understand. Their most powerful weapons, capable of cracking moons in half, simply vanished when fired. The energy went somewhere, but their sensors couldn't detect where. Commander Turner, now possessing knowledge of advanced physics that hadn't existed in human textbooks an hour ago, watched the alien fleet with something like pity. They have no idea what they're facing, he said to Captain Morgan. They're trying to fight a civilization that mastered space-time manipulation before their species even learned to use fire. Admiral Korath was growing desperate. His empire had conquered 47 star systems with overwhelming firepower. Now his weapons were useless against a species he had dismissed as primitives. Activate all secondary weapons, he ordered. Focus fire on their largest cities. Thousands of smaller weapons fired simultaneously from the Zephyrian fleet. Energy beams and projectiles that could level mountains streaked toward Earth's major population centers. None of them reached their targets. The attacks simply ceased to exist the moment they entered Earth's defensive field. 8 billion humans, connected through the Guardian network, unconsciously redirected the hostile energy into harmless forms. In New York, London, Tokyo, and every other major city, people looked up at the sky and saw bright flashes of light as the alien attacks were neutralized hundreds of miles above their heads. Dr. Walsh monitored the network's power levels in amazement. Each attack they make gives us more energy to work with. It's like they're charging our batteries for us. Jake felt the network's response building through his connection to the crystal. 8 billion human minds linked together by technology their ancestors had built were reaching a collective decision. They've had their warning, he said quietly. Now it's time to show them what happens when you threaten a Guardian world. President Johnson spoke to Admiral Korath one final time. You were offered the chance to withdraw. You chose to attack instead. Now face the consequences of your actions. The alien admiral's expression changed from contempt to fear as his sensors detected massive energy buildups throughout the solar system. The hidden defensive platforms that had disguised themselves as asteroids were revealing their true nature. What are those things? Korath whispered. Those, President Johnson replied, are what your empire should have encountered long ago if you hadn't been so careful to only attack helpless civilizations. The platforms, each one the size of a small moon, began powering up weapon systems that made the Zephyrian fleet's arsenal look like toys. But they weren't preparing to destroy the alien ships. They were preparing to do something much more thorough. Lieutenant Colonel Pierce received data from sensors throughout the galaxy. Admiral, the entire Guardian network is responding. Every installation in known space is coming online. Dr. Grant showed Jake the holographic display of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light were appearing as ancient Guardian stations activated across hundreds of star systems. It's not just about defending Earth anymore, he said. The network is preparing to deal with the Zephyrian threat permanently. Jake understood what was about to happen. The knowledge flowing through the Guardian network showed him the fate that awaited empires that chose conquest over cooperation. The Zephyrians have enslaved entire species, he said. Billions of beings suffering under their rule. The network was designed to prevent exactly this kind of tyranny. Captain Bailey monitored the quantum field fluctuations as the Guardian network reached across impossible distances. Admiral, the network isn't just connected to our installations. It's connected to every Zephyrian ship, base, and outpost in the galaxy. Connected how? Jake asked, though he was starting to understand the answer. Dr. Roberts showed him the quantum entanglement patterns spreading through space. Every atom in their technology contains quantum markers that link back to their homeworld. The network can follow those connections anywhere in the galaxy. Admiral Korath was receiving panicked reports from Zephyrian installations throughout his empire. Their bases on distant worlds were experiencing the same weapon failures. Their communication networks were being infiltrated by an intelligence they couldn't comprehend. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're losing contact with our outer colonies. Something is spreading through our entire network. What kind of something? Korath demanded. We don't know. It's like our technology is turning against us. President Johnson watched the tactical displays as the Guardian network spread its influence across the galaxy. Admiral Korath, your empire ends today. Every species you have enslaved will be free. Every world you have conquered will choose its own destiny. Korath's four eyes widened in terror as he finally understood what his fleet had encountered. These weren't the primitives his intelligence reports had described. They were the heirs of the civilization that had once kept peace among the stars. Impossible, he whispered. The Guardians were destroyed 40,000 years ago. No, President Johnson corrected him. They were sleeping, waiting for a threat large enough to wake them up. Congratulations, Admiral. You succeeded in awakening the galaxy's immune system. The crystal in the underground facility pulsed one final time, and Jake felt the network's decision reach every connected human mind. It was time to restore the Guardian Order and end the Zephyrian Empire forever. Above Earth, the alien fleet began to realize they weren't facing a single planet's defenses. They were facing the awakened power of the galaxy's former protectors. What happened next lasted exactly 3.7 seconds according to every timekeeper in the galaxy, but its effects would be remembered for thousands of years. Jake felt the moment when 8 billion human minds reached perfect unity through the Guardian network. Every person on Earth, from the president in her bunker to children playing in their backyards, shared the same thought at the same instant. The Zephyrian Empire had to end. The crystal in the underground facility blazed with light brighter than the sun. Energy flowed through quantum connections that spanned the galaxy, reaching every Guardian installation that had waited 40,000 years for this moment. Admiral Korath watched his instruments in growing horror as impossible readings appeared on every screen. The energy levels surrounding Earth were beyond anything his science could measure. But worse than that, his sensors were detecting the same phenomenon at Zephyrian bases throughout the galaxy. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with a trembling voice, "we're reading massive quantum fluctuations at our homeworld, and at every colony in the Empire." "That's impossible," Korath protested. "Those worlds are thousands of light years away." But distance meant nothing to the Guardian network. Dr. Roberts, watching the quantum field readings in the underground facility, explained what was happening to Jake and the others. "The network isn't bound by normal space-time limitations," she said with wonder in her voice. "It can manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself." Lieutenant Colonel Pierce monitored the network's reach as it spread across the galaxy. "Admiral, we're connected to installations in over 3,000 star systems. Every major Zephyrian stronghold is within the network's influence." The alien fleet around Earth began experiencing something their science had no name for. Reality itself seemed to be rejecting their existence. Their ships didn't explode or burn. They simply started to fade away, as if the universe was deciding they had never been there at all. Captain Bailey watched his instruments track the impossible process. "Their matter is being converted back to quantum probability," he announced. "The network is literally erasing them from existence." On his flagship, Admiral Korath felt his body beginning to tingle strangely. His four hands were becoming transparent. Around him, his crew members were experiencing the same thing. "What's happening to us?" He screamed into his communication system. President Johnson answered him one final time. "You're being removed from the equation. Your empire chose conquest and slavery. The galaxy has decided you no longer deserve to exist." The process wasn't violent. There was no pain, no destruction in the traditional sense. The Zephyrian ships and their crews simply stopped being real. 40,000 years of Guardian technology, awakened by humanity's collective will, was undoing their existence at the quantum level. But the effect didn't stop with the fleet around Earth. Dr. Walsh monitored the network's expansion as it followed quantum entanglement pathways back to every Zephyrian facility in known space. It's reaching their colonies, their mining operations, their slave worlds. Everything connected to their empire is being affected. Jake felt the network's judgment flowing through his mind. The Guardian technology didn't just erase military targets. It identified every person who had participated in the Zephyrian system of oppression and removed them from reality, while carefully protecting their victims. On 47 conquered worlds, billions of enslaved beings suddenly found themselves free. Their Zephyrian overseers simply vanished, leaving behind only empty buildings and abandoned equipment. Commander Turner, monitoring communications from across the galaxy, received confused transmissions from the liberated worlds. "Admiral, we're getting signals from every planet the Zephyrians controlled. Their populations are reporting that their oppressors just disappeared." The network's power reached its peak as it finally touched the Zephyrian homeworld itself. On a planet that had been the center of a galactic empire, millions of beings who had built their civilization on the suffering of others discovered what it meant to face the universe's justice. Dr. Grant watched the holographic galaxy map as the Zephyrian Empire's territorial markers blinked out one by one. It's incredible. 200 years of conquest ended in less than 4 seconds. Captain Morgan, observing from orbit, saw the last of the alien ships around Earth fade into nothingness. Where minutes before there had been 8,000 vessels preparing to destroy humanity, now there was only empty space, scattered with cosmic dust. The silence that followed was profound. The Guardian network, having completed its task, began to return to a monitoring state, but it didn't go dormant again. Humanity had proven they were ready to reclaim their role as the galaxy's protectors. Jake felt the crystal's light fade to a soft glow, but the connection to the network remained strong in his mind. He understood now that this was only the beginning of humanity's return to their true purpose. President Johnson addressed the world from her bunker, her words carried by the Guardian Network to every liberated planet in the galaxy. People of Earth and peoples of all worlds, the Zephyrian Empire is no more. Their reign of terror is over. Freedom has been restored to billions of beings who suffered under their rule. She paused, feeling the weight of humanity's new responsibility. We have remembered who we are. We are the guardians of peace, the protectors of the innocent, the force that stands against tyranny wherever it arises. Dr. Roberts monitored the quantum field fluctuations as they settled into new patterns. The network is stable. We maintain connection to Guardian installations throughout the galaxy. We're not just Earth humans anymore. We're part of something much larger. Lieutenant Colonel Pierce received reports from monitoring stations around the world. Admiral, every human on Earth is still connected to the network. The knowledge hasn't faded. We remember everything our ancestors knew. Jake walked to the crystal and placed his hand on its surface once more. This time, instead of receiving knowledge, he felt himself contributing to it. The network was learning from humanity's experiences, adding their struggles and growth to its vast database. What happens now? He asked Dr. Walsh. She smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the crystal. Now we do what Guardians do. We watch over the galaxy. We help civilizations grow and develop. And we make sure that nothing like the Zephyrian Empire ever rises again. Captain Bailey brought up displays showing human spacecraft throughout the solar system. All of them had been transformed by their contact with the Guardian Network. They were no longer simple cargo ships and research vessels. They were the beginning of humanity's new galactic fleet. Our ships are ready for interstellar travel, he reported. The network has given us technology our ancestors used to patrol the galaxy. General Harris contacted them from the surface. Admiral Sullivan, I'm receiving requests from 47 different worlds asking for assistance in rebuilding their civilizations. They want to know if the Guardians will help them establish peaceful governments. Jake looked around at the scientists and technicians who had spent their careers studying humanity's hidden heritage. Now they were the leaders of a galactic civilization that spanned thousands of worlds. Tell them yes, he said. Tell them the Guardians have returned, and we'll help any species that chooses cooperation over conquest. Tony Lopez put down his hammer in New York and looked up at the sky. The knowledge in his mind told him that construction projects waited for him on distant worlds where freed slaves needed new cities. Linda Davis erased her math problems in Chicago and began writing equations for teaching alien children about the sciences that would help them rebuild their societies. Joe Carter looked at his farm in Iowa and understood that there were agricultural worlds throughout the galaxy that needed his help to feed their populations all across Earth. 8 billion humans felt the same calling. They were no longer just the inhabitants of a single planet. They were the inheritors of a galactic responsibility that their ancestors had carried for millions of years. President Johnson made one final announcement to the world and to the galaxy beyond. Today, humanity takes its place among the stars not as conquerors but as protectors. The Guardian Network is active once again. Peace and freedom will be our gifts to every species ready to accept them. Jake felt the network pulse gently through his mind, carrying messages of gratitude from countless freed worlds. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, erased from history as if it had never existed. In its place, a new era of cooperation and growth was beginning. The Guardians had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.